Well, hello yet again. I realize is that like a signature thing? I think I say that like every time. Multiple hellos. Anyway, whatever. We'll claim it is. It's a trademark greeting. I now officially own it. I own the rights to the word hello. You're not allowed to say it multiple times unless you get my permission. Because copyright law makes perfect sense. Anyway, it's Sunday afternoon, and that means it's time for... Ooh, went red for a second there. It's time for some more ranking of the Tetrises. And it's sort of an interesting dilemma. Last week, we started to hit hardware that my computer doesn't do the best job of emulating properly. So the new Tetris for Nintendo 64, if I was to review the game, I guess I would say it's an interesting crossroads. They were definitely trying to move forward with the series. They weren't quite there yet, but you could see the attempt. Of course, you couldn't see the attempt in the video because the game ran like crap. But so it goes, and we decided that one was exempt from ranking, so our list at present still looks like this, with Super Tetris 2 and Bombliss up at the top, and Tetris Plus, specifically the Game Boy port of Tetris Plus, all the way down at the bottom at number 12. And I think this week we might have a true contender for the higher end of this ranking system. I say that because I'm biased, and this list reflects my biases, sort of. But also because there is just a really good game coming up. But I didn't want to start with that one, so we do have another Nintendo 64 Tetris game. I think this one's going to run decently well. I wasn't really looking forward to playing this because I find the added license a bit cloying, but it is what it is, and it's brought to you by Capcom. And I just want to check. I'm just gonna... Capcom and Disney. And yeah, audio's a little chonky. It's also cranked way up in my headphones here. So this is, what was the title? Magical Tetris Challenge. So again, sound is a little crispy, but this is playing about right. I don't know what the difference between those are, but anyway, let's just get into it. And so this is we're just starting with the basic Tetris. There's nothing magical about this particular mode, it's just Tetris. Controls alright. Totally wall kicks. We have hard drop. Yeah, you can even wall kick this. Does it have T-spins? I don't know yet. It's a bit of a shame that the music is a little crispy because it's freaking good. There's some really good funky tunes in this game. Piece distribution here seems particularly random. The colors are all a little weird. That's kind of the interesting thing about this game. A lot of stuff about it is not bad necessarily, but it is odd. I'm gonna turn this down a little, just not that much, just a little. Just know that if you play this on your own time without the crispy audio, the music is fantastic. And yeah, and I think like one of the odd things, a lot of the pieces when they come down, they're upright by default. And that's, again, that's neither good nor bad, it's just different. But it's different enough to be just kind of curious. I don't know why they went that route. Yeah, hard. I was kind of struggling with this on my test playthrough. Or not playthrough, I just played it for, 15 minutes ahead of the stream. And piece distribution seems a little odd. It's obviously going for more of a, if not full random, then, more random than you get on modern Tetris. And when we get into the whole magical Tetris mode, you'll see there's kind of a wrinkle to it. But as I just want to start with baseline Tetris here. Apparently we're at level 29. I hadn't really been watching the status screen. I'm not sure how this game calculates speed level. Let's just put this here so we can put this here. Yeah, and the same thing with a few graphical hiccups. That's all emulation stuff. That doesn't reflect how the game plays on legitimate hardware. So we're going to disregard it as best we can. Wow, that was 4 line pieces in a row. This is definitely running on some degree of very random, if that statement made grammatical sense. Whoop. Yeah. Again, lateral movement, very tight. Okay, 71 lines, speed level 32. Should probably watch that a little closer to figure out how it's calculating that stuff. Getting a little bit of input lag. Again, I'm going to assume that that's emulator problems and not the game. There seemed to be some kind of acknowledgement if you get combos. That's not always the case in this era. And the thing says I have 105 lines, but I don't feel like I've been playing for that long, so I wonder... are they weighted? The only way to find out is to try and go for another Tetris and see what happens. I'm probably imagining it. That's kind of been the story of me playing this game so far. Yeah, okay. Nope. No weighted line values, so... This is unfortunately starting to get increasingly laggy. Not for now. And no quit from the pause menu. They've decided again that that is not truly a next-gen feature. Enter name. ABC. There you go. So as far as a standard Tetris game goes, this is actually pretty good. I think out of the 3 Nintendo 64 Tetris games, it's probably the best one. Again, for my personal value, I think having the Disney characters is a bit of a detriment. I have very little affinity for these guys. But we're gonna go back to Endless, and we're gonna... Actually, no, we're not. Let's just do Magical Tetris here. Story, 1 player, or versus. Story. We're gonna stick with our boy Goofy. I don't know what the difference here is, but when I tested this, I played it on Expert, and my opponent was quite aggressive, so we're gonna stick to normal for now. Goofy visits Minnie bringing along some of his tasty vegetables. Hiya, Minnie. I brought you some of my vegetables, just like you asked. My Goofy impression is spot on. Thank you, Goofy. My Minnie impression is also spot on. I'm going to make a big batch of delicious vegetable cookies. Really? Golly, that sounds great. Anything I can do to help? Why don't you change outfits? I'd love your help. And now we're gonna fight. Okay. So... Okay, yeah. Reasonably generous on tucks. Can't do them on a hard drop, obviously. Now, one interesting thing I want you to notice is that there's kind of 2 next windows. There's one in the middle, and also you'd notice that Minnie just got some really weirdly shaped pieces. And a clock just went off. So explaining all of this is going to take a moment. Basically, the next window in the middle is shared between us. So it does the Tetris Battle Gaiden thing where you can strategically try to block your opponent from getting certain pieces. But if you notice, just up at the sort of upper right corner of my playfield, there's another little preview of what the next piece is going to be. So it's not completely unpredictable like it was in that game. You do still have a chance to look at have like a separate next window that you can look at and see what's coming up. And I think we just... No? I thought we just bit the dust there, but apparently we're allowed to keep going. And as you do stuff, there's like a meter that fills up. Yeah, this game is also much like Tetris Battle Guide and weirdly kind of mean. But also, it needs to be said, a whole lot more balanced than that game was. So they're kind of riffing on the same idea, but maybe a little smarter in the design department. I'm still not all that big on trying to stop the other player from getting the pieces they want. I usually just focus on my own board. Again, probably because there's two players going at the same time, the music is even crispier and laggier, but I assure you, if you get to hear it properly, it is still very good music. What? Okay, Minnie just got a Tetris, so that's gonna send some weird stuff onto our board. Little dirty triple right down the middle there. And again, this is lagging a bit in a way that it didn't when I played offline, so... And there's a meter that builds up, and I don't quite know what that does. And also the clock... Oh yeah, and it crashes. So let's just go ahead and reset that. And I've watched Greg Seward play this game on one of his Extra Life streams. I can confirm that it doesn't crash on hardware. But I'm just going to switch over to Endless mode, and we're going to do Endless Magical Tetris. This time I'm just going to play as Minnie. I don't think there's a difference. Now, I don't know who that guy is, but why can't we play as him? He looks cool. I love his suit. I'm not a big bow tie kind of person, though. I'd go with something else for the accoutrement. Excuse me, accoutrement, if you will. I know how to roll my R's, I should do it more often. Yeah, and so that clock up at the top of the screen there, upper middle, I guess, the speed level increases every time that goes around, so yeah, so the longer a match keeps going, the faster it goes. You know, try and force Okay, this is annoying. That is a whole lot of consecutive O blocks. We sent a gear over to his board. That's a pain. And so again, much like in Tetris Battle Gaiden, I must say I'm not a big fan of... Okay, the meter drained, and that happened, and then the meter got bigger. Interesting. So like I said, much like that game, I'm not really a big fan of these kind of more aggressive moves where you get to screw up the other person's board. But let it be said that this does sort of approach that in a slightly more thoughtful and balanced manner. So, you know, maybe if you enjoyed Tetris Battle Gaiden, and you're looking for something that kind of has the same vibe, this would be my recommendation in that situation. Okay, and again, combos seem to do something, I don't know what. Back to these consecutive O blocks. This is just... Okay, this is just annoying. So I guess there's no continues on that mode. That's fine. Now, I haven't played this one yet. Up-down Tetris. I don't know what that is. But yeah, this is getting more laggy as it goes on. Donald went fishing and caught a stone that glowed mysteriously. There were weird symbols carved into the mysterious stone. Donald thought to himself, and he set off for Goofy's farm. And it took him forever to get from one end to the other. Hiya, Donald, you're just in time. Why don't you change outfits and give me a hand? Donald will have to help Goofy in order to find out more about the stone. Ooh. Ah, dude, this is the funkiest tune yet. So, okay, what did that... Oh, so up-down Tetris is like your more standard versus mode. This is kind of winning me over a little bit. The funky music is definitely helping. Even if this is getting unplayably laggy. Yeah, we're done for here. That ain't working. again, like, just impressively aggressive AI. 2, 1. Well, I mean, that's all the modes, I suppose. Game's not running particularly well. That's probably going to keep being a problem. Yeah, so I'll kind of close this out in the background here, get things set up for the next game. We think a bit about where this is going to go on the list. Oh, wasn't it? Okay, so that's a... If you recognize that sound, you know what game's coming next, I guess. But anyway, so where does that fit? Oh, Tetris Plus... I think by default, it has to go higher than Tetris 64. Because it is comparable in overall quality, but just that much. It just plays well. It's got contemporary features. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Tetris Battle Gaiden kind of use magic attacks to screw up the other person's board kind of thing. Though it, again, everything about this, like it's like they... I don't know if the people making this were aware of Tetris Battle Gaiden, but like everything, it's like they took the same ideas and just improved them just enough. Just enough to where it doesn't make me angry the way that game did. And the music is absolutely extraordinary. It's got a decent setup. It's got your standard game. It's got your kind of two-player mode, two-player versus, more standard two-player versus. The music is phenomenal. Did I mention that? The music is really good. And honestly, the biggest knock against it is the Disney characters. I'm just not a fan. I just don't care that much. To me, those characters kind of drag it down a little bit. I would have preferred like any other cartoon license. I'm just not a fan of Mickey Mouse. But but that's me. That's me. If you can put up with having those characters, and it's not like they talk. That helps, especially with Donald. It helps a lot that he doesn't talk, because I hate the way he talks. Oh my god, hey Kaimeg, I didn't even see chat there. How long have you been here? If it was Little Mermaid, honestly, like even Little Mermaid, I would take over like Mickey and Donald and them. But yeah, and I mean, Greg streamed this game already once on his Extra Life stream there, I think last year. So I was vaguely aware of it. I'm just saying, I think it has to go here. Magical Tetris, I already forgot the name. Tetris Challenge. N64. You know what? I've already changed. Have I changed? No. I feel like I'm putting those original games on a bit of a pedestal. But no, this feels right. This feels like the right place to put it. This, again, if you like Tetris Battle Guide N, I would highly recommend checking this game out. I do want to quickly double check that I'm getting the name right. Here, I'm just gonna go over here, back in Magical. What's it called? Magical Tetris Challenge. In brackets, USA. Okay, yeah, that's the right name. Oh, yeah, that's... And then, no, I want to load this one. And, yeah. So now we got that looked after. And so the next game, if you didn't already recognize the sound effect, I think, I'm pretty confident that I know where this one is going to end up on the list. And I've spoken about it already. I've already played it on the channel once before and had nothing but praise for it. And I don't think I've ever said a bad word about this game since, like, the first time I tried it, which was a few years ago, I think. Probably a decade ago at this point. Tetris with Sexy Gumby. If only. Good lord, that would... if you could put Sexy Gumby into Tetris, everything would be right with this world. No, this is Tetris DX. For the Game Boy Color. How's the sound? Get away with being a little higher. Unfortunately, we don't get quite the same funk that we had with... Though apparently there is a little drum and bass going on in here. Interesting. I'm gonna turn down my monitor. And yes, I have played this a few times. We have a Marathon, Ultra, 40 lines, and Versus Com. A pretty decent set here. Trying to remember. Okay, I take it back. This game does have the funk. Start on level 0. Again, we've got really clean movement here. No hard drop, but soft drop is decently fast. And also, you can just watch the score just climb up as you hard drop. And just... And it gives you a little incentive to push down. We got wall kicks. And do we got... But we don't on the line pieces. It's interesting. This does... I think T-spins are an absolute no-go, but tucks are decently generous. I think there's like 3 variants on the music, depending on how close to the top you get. I'm gonna probably have to watch the time a little bit, because this is definitely one of those games where endless does in fact mean potentially endless. This can go on for quite a while if you let it. And there are other game modes to get to. Also kind of like the fact that they use that sort of grainy looking texture for the line piece. Sort of a nice little callback to the original Game Boy Tetris. I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to, at least for me personally, is just how good this feels to control. Like it just definitely feel like I am absolutely like in control of what's going on, and yeah, mistakes are clearly happening, but you know, it definitely feels like I'm the one making the mistakes here, you know? It doesn't feel like the game is being unfair. Exactly, Kaimega. If only I could control my life the way I control Tetris DX. We'll just, I'm just gonna play this up to 150 lines and then call it there, and then we'll sort of mess with the other gameplay modes, because they're all pretty good. If we pause, yep. Still no quitting from the pause menu. We have not yet achieved next generation. Should be here when you get back. I'd also be real curious to know what kind of piece distribution they use in this. because it doesn't feel random. Like, especially the way the last few games kind of felt really, really random. This doesn't feel like 7-bag. Modern Tetris? First of all, hi, welcome Dirty Newports. Yes, I love Tetris Effect. But I can't emulate that, and I don't have a capture card, so for our purposes, it probably won't go on the list. But, I also really enjoyed the first Puyo Puyo Tetris. I enjoyed that a lot. And Tetris Axis on the 3DS. What do I play on? Switch primarily. I don't have newer consoles. That's the most recent one I've got. And my computer is pretty old as well, so... Alright, there we go. That's 150 lines. So, just gonna call it there for now, just for... I get a big old space shuttle. Again, another callback to original Game Boy Tetris. And so I guess that explains why these blocks are always falling from the sky. But, as you can see from my high scores here, game can go on for a bit if you don't slow it down. But, I'm gonna switch. I want to play the other modes here. So this is Ultra. Go. No. Do you get better scores if you... I can't remember. Let's just do it anyway. And so Ultra is just 3-minute score attack. Whoops. I'm getting a little sloppy on the top there. And honestly, I'm not usually a big fan of Ultra. I find it... Like, on newer games, like with a lot of the other features, you know, like your hard drops and... It feels like the sort of mode that is... It's almost too stressful to try and optimize your score. So I think this one kind of hits a good sweet spot, where the game is snappy enough to do a time attack, but you know it's not high level enough that you're having to do like super advanced techniques in order to actually get a decent score. Though again, you can see where I'm kind of making some bad mistakes here, trying to rush a little too much. Pushing the speed up to 9 from the onset isn't really making that big a difference. I mean, I guess if I could push the speed up to like, 15 right off the gate, that would probably mess me up a little more. Whoops. Just kind of feathered the button instead of pressing it all the way in. Okay. Clock is starting to tick down on me. Oh, 60,000. How does that fare? Considerably lower than my previous attempt. Fair enough. I kind of felt like I made a big mess on the board right at the beginning, so that's understandable. And then we got 40 lines. Oh, apparently I tried this one before. Let's go with the same. Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool. I totally forgot that this is what they did. That's kind of awesome and also kind of nasty. And again, my instinct here is to just immediately go for high-scoring moves, which, of course, you don't necessarily want to do in 40 lines, or sprint, as it's usually called nowadays. Again, it just... muscle memory just compels me to go for it. Maybe for the amount of time that the line clear animation takes, it might actually be faster to go for Tetrises. I wonder if that's on purpose. Game Boy sound chip gets a little out of tune when you pitch the notes that high. Lavender Town says hello. Oh, right. And we get some fireworks in the Saharan Desert. And we get some more fireworks. And some more fireworks. This is fun, but it's kind of a bit much. Yeah. Okay, so that's my previous best time, beaten by a few seconds. And the only other thing to try here is versus calm, which is kind of an interesting... I haven't played on easy. I did get a win on normal, a win on hard. Okay. Yeah. So... just start on level 0, keep it even. And so, I'm not really sure how this mode works exactly. If there is actually another player sort of playing against us and we just don't get to see him, or if the game is just kind of approximating it by, you know, having that little meter on the side go up and down. That's quite energetic right out the gate here. So if there is another person playing this, they're getting some high-level plays right out the gate. To put that over there. But again, I would have to assume that this is what it looks like in two-player mode if you play that. Much like the previous game, we're dealing with a fairly aggressive opponent here. I guess we won. Looks like it's 3 out of 5? Or best 3 of 5, or however you say that, I don't know. I would not describe this game as a 3 out of 5. Again, I'm kind of stuck here, just taking it on faith that the other player is playing as well as the game seems to imply. We're kind of starting to see this particular mode get standardized as the sort of two-player versus mode of choice for Tetris variants. The second win felt a little cleaner than the first. I think I just got whistled at. Alright. So, easy, normal, hard. There doesn't appear to be like a super expert hard or anything. But, I mean, I would say that's everything the game has to offer, but it's just really good. It's just so good. But, for the sake of keeping things moving along, we'll just have to stop there for now. Hop back over to our ranking screen. And so, the question is, where do we put... It's number 1. I'm not even pretending. Here's DX Game Boy Color. I knew the moment I started this little experiment that when we get to Tetris DX, it's going to crush everything that came before it, because it absolutely does. There's no other way to put it. The game is just too damn good. And so, yeah, we now have a user list. And what's really interesting about that is, look at the last few Tetris games, and you see them, they're starting to add things. They're starting to add the ghost piece. They're starting to add the hold cue. They're starting to add lock delay. And you know, I think you could probably do T-spins in the new Tetris. Unfortunately, again, because of technical problems, it's not on the list, but you are starting to see that stuff entering the picture. And I know from listening to people complain on the internet that not everybody loves that stuff. You know, not everybody appreciates like the level of assists that new Tetris gives you. For me, I thought it was great. And now of course, famously, I tend to turn off the ghost piece and I don't use the hold cue because, I don't know, just muscle memory won't let me. I play Tetris the way I've always played Tetris. But I do like that those things are in there. I do like that they make for a faster, more reactive game, something where you can kind of speed things up and still pull yourself out of a bad situation. But if you really wanted to play a version of Tetris that didn't have any of that, that just went absolutely back to basics, I think Tetris DX is, to this day, still the best back-to-basics Tetris. There's no frills, there's no fancy stuff. It is just Tetris, but with really spot-on controls. Just absolutely incredibly precise controls. And again, I mean, I first played it, I just bought a Game Boy Advance for 40 bucks at a used game shop one time, and I just needed some things to play on it, and oh yeah, this thing plays Game Boy Color games. I just picked up Tetris DX, very impressed right from the get-go with how good that game is. Now, you're emulating it, you get the advantage of playing it on a big screen with a nice controller and all that. But even on original hardware, it's just... I have to go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna need to stop praising this game for a few minutes, but... Yeah, I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to knock everything else off the #1 spot. But I will be right back. And so, just give me a moment here. And I will mute the microphone so you don't hear me going to the bathroom. Oh, welcome back, Chimega, and not sure how long you've been here or how much you had to endure me just heaping endless praise on Tetris DX. But as you can see, it's over this way. It quickly hit #1. And so Super Tetris 2 and Bomb Bliss has been knocked down. It stayed up there for a good long time, mind you, considering the competition. But I did not locate any other Tetris games for the Game Boy Color. There is a Bomb Bliss game called Tetris Blast. Tetris X Bomberman. What's that for? I might have to look for that. I did go looking for Tetris S there for the Saturn. Couldn't get it to run. I did find it, but again, OpenMU only takes games on optical disc. They need to be formatted a certain way. And their official line on that is, well, you shouldn't be downloading ROMs anyway. You should be buying the games physically and ripping them yourself. So fair enough, I guess. But we're jumping ahead now to Game Boy Advance, and I think you all know what that means. Of course, as soon as it loads, that means... Oop, wrong one. Mina no Soft Series Tetris Advance. As I'm sure we're all familiar. What's the sound on that? So, I don't know a lot about this game. I don't know if it ever came to the States. I don't know how well known it is. It's got some groovy tunes going. Option. Hold off. Whatever that is, off. Next, 1 or 6. That's kind of neat. I don't know what any of these options do. And anyway, so yeah, time attack. I don't know what challenge is. We'll have to see. Versus standard versus arranged. The first is Ghost. Oh, that's fine. I don't use Ghost. Endless. Again, normal, hard, very hard. I don't know what difference these make in comparison to the speed level. We'll play on very hard, I guess. And so this is... Okay, so this has got a... You have to kind of wait for the pieces to sort of lock in place. There's a nice little graphical detail for when they land, when they lock. Lateral movement is very sluggish. But you do have some degree of lock delay. You could probably T-spin in this. I think this is modern enough that, you know, like you're hitting all the contemporary features. The little graphics on the side are kind of fun. Some of them are a bit weird. Like a salaryman going to the bathroom. Not sure what that has to do with Tetris. Also, we can quit from the pause menu! We've officially hit next generation again. Oop. Oh, that's a sound effect. Okay, so there's no lock delay when you hard drop. We're probably gonna have to switch to that a little more here. Also, at some point I'm gonna have to go onto some sketchy websites and have a look at what the Mina no Soft series is. And what other games were part of this particular line. I am rather fond of the Bit Generation series, also on Game Boy Advance. This is kind of an interesting one because it's... On the one hand, it has all the features you would want. It looks good. It sounds a little weird, but whatever. But yeah, this controls very sluggishly. And it's the same when I play it offline. This is not an input lag thing. This is not a performance issue. I've streamed several other Game Boy Advance games without, several or just the one? I don't remember. No, I also, yeah, this is... Interestingly enough, tapping the D-pad doesn't actually move faster than just holding it down. Even though the game kind of moves pretty slow. I just want to see something. I'm going to put this up to speed level 9, and I'm going to turn this back to normal. See what's different. Well, for starters, the music is more enjoyable. I'm guessing what they were going for was that as the game progresses, they just add more and more instruments to the mix. Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. Yeah. And then there's a guy named Tetris Man who was being chased by a bunch of other people and climbed a tree, and now a guy's standing in front of the tree yelling Kyoto. Is it Tetris Man or Tetris Men? Okay, now there's a gorilla banging on a door with a hammer, and the gorilla has a chain gun. And he got eaten by a dinosaur. Okay, that sound effect for the hard drop is starting to get a little annoying. Now he's hiding in a trash can from a woman who's in love with him. And she kicked the okay, and now Gorilla's chopping down a tree. Okay. Yeah. And he get bit in the ass by a dog. Okay, well, I just want to see... Let's just go ahead and turn all of these on and see what happens. And... I guess we'll also play Time Attack. Might not have helped. Nope. We'll go back to this just to... Oh, wow, okay. So I guess the difficulty setting affects the speed? Maybe? And so again, we still have these really sluggish controls, but we technically have enough lock delay to kind of counteract it somewhat. No input buffering. T-spins are possible. Level 91? Okay, I think I see what's going on here. Let's just... Okay, now if we set that to very hard while still on level 9... No, it's still level 90. I really don't know what turning on those other settings in the options changed. Maybe they did adjust like the lock delay or something. If we sort of go back and flick those on again. That seems to be about the same amount. Chi! Chi dynamite, apparently. There's... Oh yeah, it still jumped up to level 91. I am a bit confused by how this is supposed to work. Seems a little bit like the pieces are... I don't know. Maybe those other settings made it a little easier to nudge them around a bit? Vow. There's a song, there's a sound dogs make. We appear to have infinite lock delay. If you rotate the piece, you can keep it in play. Like, okay. Tetris Man just suplexed a gorilla. And a referee came in and counted him out. So I would have to assume that those other settings were gameplay assists of varying types. Okay, so time attack. Interesting, 2 minutes instead of 3. Interesting choice. I think as I was saying while you were away, Kai Mega, I think for as far as like time trials in this goes, I think Tetris DX probably does it the best. Just because the game controls well enough to play fast, but it's not so advanced as to have like all these high-level techniques that, you know, make optimizing your score kind of stressful. Time up. Alright, now I don't know what challenge is. I didn't try this in my test. Obviously versus standard and versus... We'll have to see. I think that might be a multiplayer thing. Yeah. Challenge mode. Oh boy. So we have to do that? Okay, so the challenge wasn't to get a Tetris. Okay, the challenge was to clear stage 1. Alright. Yep, says I got that one. I guess that's probably get 100 lines, maybe get 10 Tetrises. These are just... I am just completely guessing here. But, yeah, I suppose if you're new to the game, having these little challenges probably kind of helpful. It seems like a nice little value add. Okay. But where does it rank? So, in the interest of fairness, I'm not going to complain too much about the stuff that I couldn't read, obviously. It seems like a fully featured game. It's got like everything you would want in a Tetris game. But at the same time, it controls very badly. Like, and especially coming right off of Tetris DX, man, it's jarring. Just how slow and unresponsive the controls in that game really are. Oh my goodness. And so, you know, and it doesn't have, like, the legacy of the early games, and it doesn't have... I mean, my guess is that the whole Mina no Soft series is probably like just like a line of budget games, like a line of cheap casual games, probably marketed at like salarymen. You just, you know, bring a Game Boy Advance to work and you have some time off, play some Tetris. But that doesn't excuse sloppy controls. Especially when there's at least one other Tetris game for the Game Boy Advance, and it controls substantially better. It is an uglier game, but it, you know, and we'll get to that one. We'll get to that one next week. But yeah, oof. Is that the controls were just not... So we are definitely looking at the bottom of this list. Where does it say? It's definitely better than Tetris Battle Gaiden. And good lord, it's better than Tetris Plus, because, whew, that was a stinker. V-Tetris... Of course, the big problem with V-Tetris is that it's a Virtual Boy game, and so, again, the main thing holding that one back is just the eye-searing red. But I've been found playing that on emulator with the colors set to black and white. Like, it wasn't great, but it did control better, and it had better music. Yeah. No soft series. Tris Pants. Yay. Barely fits, but and we'll just leave out. Nope. Let's keep. There. Yeah, and we'll combine soft and series into one word. Mina no soft series Tetris Advance. There it is. Our new number 13. And so that's gonna do it for Tetris games this week. I would have intended to get to a fourth one, but I guess not. I believe I still have 3 ROMs to go through of just, like, vanilla Tetris. Funny enough, the creators of Tetris were all pretty vehemently anti-communist. I know that's a common refrain is to point out that, Tetris was developed in Russia during but I think being screwed over by the state on that one definitely convinced them to, and I think they were already sort of leaning pro-capitalist prior to that, which of course I don't necessarily approve of as someone who's not a fan of capitalism, but I mean, under, like, Soviet Russian communism of the 1980s, I can understand them, capitalism being an improvement. But yeah, and so after we get through those last couple, then we'll probably start throwing Tetris adjacent games onto the list. So, like, your Tetris Attacks, your Tetris, your Bomb Blisses, your Tetris this or that. So it's kind of like everyone's golf, sort of. Yeah, I think what they're implying is that it's just like a casual game, like a series of inexpensive casual games. Yeah, so communist golf. So, everybody's score get counted together. It's communist golf. Golf should be group effort. Right, yeah, and so, as promised in the stream title, we got some schmupping to do. And turn that up a little bit. I don't know if you've ever seen the intro to this game, but my god, it sort of goes to a place. Planets of the Illus solar system are being threatened by a mysterious enemy. Yep, everybody died. The indestructible forces of this enemy are overwhelming the small and tired fleet of the solar system. Including the people in that locket. They very much want you to know that. After months of tenacious enemy attack, only one ship has survived. Axelay. So, I mean, 1992 standards, I think that's pretty dark. Really, sort of hammering the point home.
Arms installation is complete.
And the arms installation is complete. Yeah, so this game is definitely most infamous for this kind of screen warping effect that they use. Nowadays, people tend to refer to it as Mode 7, but this is definitely not Mode 7. This is more of like a, I guess like a graphical interrupt, probably. And so we have 3 different weapons. We can swap them on the fly. You can shoot and also launch bombs. On eShop. I know at one time I actually read up what the other modes were, and I totally don't remember. But yeah, as you can see, like the whole thing is that it's either stretching as it goes down, or like the higher points are compressed. Oop. And the effect does sort of mess with the controls a little bit. I'll probably end up reattempting stage 1 because this isn't going very well. And so if you get hit by debris, you die right away, but if you just get hit by projectiles, it just knocks out one of your weapons. Yeah, that didn't take too long. And there's really not much point spending a continue on stage 1.
Arms installation is complete. Good luck.
And if we're really going nowhere on this, I'll bump it down to easy. So I don't know what they were going for with this, but I do remember seeing this game in magazines at the time. I didn't play it until a couple years later, but I remember screenshots of it looking absolutely amazing. And so, like, this was definitely a game that you know, it almost feels like it was just designed to look good in gaming magazines of the time. It was actually a bit jarring at kind of how it ended up looking in motion. I think as far as like the perspective kind of messing with your eyes, yeah, I can understand that. For me, the thing with this game is that I think the result of that is that the camera feels a little swimmy. And so it can be kind of hard to sort of judge obstacles. I think it does have a bit of a problem with projectiles blending in with the background. So you need to sort of clear out this like web-looking stuff in order to fly through it. You can sort of tell which things are sprites and which things are part of the background based on whether or not they warp. Oh, speeding up. This boss is kind of interesting. Sort of a robot spider that shoots a web at you. And the web doesn't hurt you, it just slows you down so that it's harder to dodge his other attacks. I don't know why I'm referring to this spider as a he. It's clearly female. It's making a web and everything. Okay, so the web weapon was... Oh, there we go. One up. And so now we have two different kinds of bombs. Macro missiles are still
Arms installation is complete.
kind of more useful in my opinion. But stage 2 switches over to a side-scrolling perspective. So it's not as visually striking, but it is certainly more playable. Great music. The different weapons definitely have, like, sort of situational uses. Depending on what you're dealing with. Even if this one can be a little difficult to use. Oh dear, oh dear. Alright. I'm very grateful for the slowdown. As everyone should be. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Okay. This part's kind of neat. So you gotta clear those things in order to get through, but then it makes that big thing fall. If I remember, this boss, kind of a pain. It's that big sort of glass dome thing on him. Kind of protects him from your shots here. So getting a clean hit on him takes a bit of work. And so clearly we weren't supposed to be there. We're supposed to go up and over them.
Arms installation is complete. Good luck.
And if I'm not mistaken... Yeah, continues put you back at the start of the level. So I think this game, ultimately, I think it does require a little, well, maybe more than a little bit of memorization, because you sort of need to have a sense for what weapon to use in each situation. Because having the right one at the right time definitely simplifies a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, I can hear the Valis vibes, for sure. Those big bombastic synths. I would also say it's pretty unmistakably Konami music. In its own way. I think that has more to do with the sound fonts than the tune. Okay, if I finish this stage, I'll check out the next one. If not... Oops. That's not good. If not, then I'm just gonna call it here, because it's pretty close to the end of the stream. Probably the first move here should be to just specifically target this gun. Even though, I don't know, maybe I want him to hold on to it. Again. No, we definitely want to target that gun. There we go. Oop. Oh dear. And in the end, it was the ceiling that got me. Well, that's still pretty rad. And just a reminder that all the people in okay, not all the people in that locket are dead. The guy in the back, I believe, is still alive. Everyone else is dead. Just like to remind everybody of that yet again. Oop. That one. Not that one. This one. Okay. I rearranged some stuff, so... But anyway, it's going to be time for me to eat very, very soon. So thank you for coming by. Thanks for chatting. Thanks for just the good vibes. And yeah, I should be back on Tuesday with some more Sigma Star Saga. And then, you know, again, then the music on Thursday and Saturday. And then I believe, like I said, I believe the last of the vanilla Tetris games is going to be next week. So that's going to be fun. And thanks again for coming by, and I will see you again next time, I hope.